And I'm going to start a second recording here. Let me stop that. Let me start the real recording. Here we go. Okay, and we're waiting to stream, and I'm going to see if I can find some interesting music to stream while we're waiting here. And let's raise the volume on that. Can everybody hear that? You're going to hear it in a second. There we go. We're waiting. Okay, now it's time to open the show. Why don't you dance with me, everybody?
Welcome to Read My Lips Radio,
Sean, I
a
want you to
lively
dance.
hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives.
He's not
Producer and
dancing.
host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Thank you to the voice of Ryan Treasure, who always gets me on the air. And thank you to the orchestra. I am Radio Red. It's Monday night. Where in the world would I be except here on the Creativity Show? I have three very special guests, and they're unusual. Well, I don't know how unusual they are. We'll find out. But they're unusual because they found me on a service I just learned about a couple months ago called podcastguest.com. They pitched me. I had no idea who they were, and their pitches were so good that I invited them to be on the show today. So this is a whole new resource for me, and I'm very, very excited. So I want you all to just wave hello. We are streaming on LinkedIn. Sean, let's see that wave there. He's in the UK. It's 9 o'clock at night. We'll give him a little pass. No cocktails till after we're done, Sean. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I normally start out with some interesting famous birthdays today, but you know what? I just want to start off the show because you're all so new. But first, please do me a big favor. Make the shape of the letter L with either one or both of your hands, everybody. Sean, can you give me an L? Oh, double. This is amazing. I want the count of three. You're going to join me in saying hello and feel better, L, L, L. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Hello
Hello
and
feel
feel better.
better.
L, L,
L,
L.
L.
Jordan, I want you to put them down for a tie for third place. We didn't rehearse that, and Peter and John and Sean, very well done. Very well done, gentlemen. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legg. She's our most loyal listener. She hasn't been feeling well recently, but I want her to know that we're sending her a lot of love and a shout out. Peter, she's in Whitestone, New York, and I've tried to get her to move someplace with an L, so it could be LLLLLL, and she just refuses. So it's LLL from W, and that's the way it is. Okay, let's see what day of the year it is, what day of the week it is. Let me just do this. It is, I have so many notes here, only 12 pages here. Let's see, it's October 27th. It's the 300th day of 2025. It's a Gregorian calendar. Did anybody remember the Julian calendar? Of course you don't. They didn't like Julian's calendar because he got rid of a couple days in October. Peter, if you had an early October birthday like I did a couple weeks ago, you wouldn't have had it every couple of years because it just disappeared. So Gregorian came along. I don't know if he was a pope already. And he said to his mom, I'm a creative. And he created this brand new calendar where we get a leap day every fourth year. And now everybody in October gets their birthdays. 67 days left. Gentlemen, if you're doing something special for New Year's Eve, now is the time to start planning, especially if you're planning to imbibe something or make something. Kahlua in the backyard, bootleg whiskey at back of the barn, or if you want to buy champagne online, it's all going to be too late soon. It's the 44th Monday, and nobody cares about that except me. We are in the zodiac of Scorpio. We'll leave it alone. Anybody here a late October, early November birthday? Anybody? No? Okay. Well, I'm a Libra and I just had mine a couple weeks ago and it was very nice. So let's go on. I have a special introduction for each of you, and I would like you to just wave hello when I call your name. First, I'm going to have all your names and then we'll go from there. Welcome to the Creativity Show, live streaming bright, aka Radio Red on her Scarlett Mic, igniting the light. Today, the nature of creativity takes center stage, where bold ideas and passion engaged. Sean B.W. Parker, wave hello. John A. Bukowski, wave hello. Peter J. Stavros, wave hello. They all appear, revealing how life's twists shape the stories we hear. With insights and laughter, imagination in view, a sparkling exchange we're bringing to you. Sean, you are first. You ready? Okay, I have a gift for you, Sean. From Exeter's charm to the Turkish sun's gleam, Sean Parker lives fully within the dream. Artist, musician, and writer by trade, a master of meaning through the works Sean has made. With society portraits, his 10th book in line, Sean paints and ponders where culture and art entwine. Influenced by Bowie, by Bush and The Cure, Sean's creative pulse is restless and pure. A stammer once shaped, though, how his thoughts would flow, now words and ideas in bright cadence glow. From fine art to theory, Sean's insight runs deep in Istanbul's nights and South Bank's leap. A TED Talk voice on how speech can create, Sean transforms constraint into something innate. A World Art Award now celebrates his name, Sean Parker, a visionary igniting creativity's flame. Sean, what'd you think?
Great.
How'd I do?
I've never had anything like that. Was that AI? It's got to be AI.
I have a collaborator. She and I worked on this together, so there you go. But there's a human involved too. I'm glad you liked it, John. You're next. John, from Detroit's bright bustle and family crowd, John A. Bukowski learned to think out loud. From Wayne State honors to vet school acclaim, he healed and he studied before the stories came. A doctor of public health, John turned pen to art, where science and thrillers entwine from his heart. Project Suicide novel launched Deacon Creel's Fight, a genius in turmoil who sought the light. Then John's checkout time tale chased danger and flame, while The Peeper brought chills to the social media game. With 21 shorts and a new book near, John's twist-filled tales keep readers in gear. A singer of show tunes of opera grand, he once ruled the stage across the land. Now logic meets passion in plots that compel. John spins stories that cast a spell. John?
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to get a copy of that.
Well, I'll send you the clip. I'll send you I don't send the text. It's all in the delivery. You understand. You're a man of the stage, right? So I'm on my stage now. I'll send you the clip. I'd be happy to. And now it's time for Peter. From journals in childhood to headlines in ink, Peter J. Stavros learned early to think. A reporter for AP with stories to chase. From sports to crime scenes, Peter found his pace. Then law called his name, Peter, 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 with a courtroom's demand where words held the power to argue and stand. For 25 years in that fast, fiercest game, Peter built his career on precision and aim. But the writer within him kept whispering loud to trade corporate halls for a creative crowd. Now novels and stories flow swift from Peter's pen, exploring the depths of life and of men. From short plays that win to books that inspire, his voice blends truth with a lyrical fire. With his memoir awaiting its moment to shine, Peter's storytelling amazes us line by line. What'd you think?
Great. Yeah, beautiful. I'd like a copy of that too.
I'll send you I'll send you each an individual clip of the reading. And let me close with this. From music and art to thrillers that gleam, each guest today shares the pulse of their creative dream. Through words and ideas, their imagination runs free. The nature of creativity, now live streaming with me. So gather round where the cool vibes sway as we dive deep into creativity today. Radio Red's energy, lighting the way. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. So do I get a round of applause, kids? What'd you think?
Well done. Yes.
I'm happy.
Beautiful.
That's my gift. I do this for all my guests I have a technology show as well. It's number 3 on the top 20 future tech podcasts in the world right now on FeedSpot.
Wow.
At least I think FeedSpot's the world. I do that for my guests as well. But I decided because the 3 of you have such rich backgrounds and you sent me such wonderful origin stories, I usually do an 8-line. I think yours were 16 lines apiece. I really went, 12 lines, 12. These were 12 lines and know what? 16. Sorry, I just counted. 16 lines. I don't usually do that long an intro for my guests, but I was so impressed by the 3 of you, seriously, at how sincerely you approached me to be on the show that I wanted to give that gift back to you. Show's over. Goodbye. No, I'm only kidding. Okay, so now let's go around the table. I'm starting with you, Sean. I just want to give you each about 2 more minutes to tell us, is there anything I missed in the introduction? Is there anything special you want us to know? Something about your books, about your writing, about your travels? Just give us a little more information. And so officially, Sean Parker, I'm welcoming you, putting you on speaker view. Tell us more. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Red. Yeah, you covered it in the poem. Really, I'm a painter and a musician, and a writer, and also a stammerer, which is quite handy to get out there actually, because when it comes, it comes. And though you've made us all feel so relaxed that I can't imagine it really coming in this evening. This evening here in Britain, it's 9 p.m. So I'm over here in England, and I don't know what can I say. This is a painting of mine behind me, and this is a book I've got coming out next month. And
Wait, hold the book up slowly. Hold it near and move it back a little because we couldn't see it. I want to see the book.
is
Sean,
it
hold
okay
it
to
up
do
again.
that? Is it? Okay. Yeah. Called Panopticon. It's a collection of poetry.
Beautiful. What kind of
Yeah.
poetry do you write?
This is about justice reform. I've been writing very heavily on justice reform for the last 4 years, about culture wars and things like that, and very informed by my feelings about cancellations and things like this, authoritarianism. So it's kind of those things are very much in that book.
Thank you very much. Thank you for showing us the cover, beautiful cover of the book, and thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Good for you. I'm a poet. I belong to an online poetry group, and we get a prompt every Wednesday morning, and I write usually 3 to 5 poems before I start my first show at 11 o'clock. But the treat is coming starting November 1st. November and April, John, Sean, and Peter, it's a poem a day challenge, and we get a prompt from the moderator every morning early. And I typically write 3 to 5 poems every day for the entire month of November and the entire month of April. So I've got about 700 poems. Sean, I have to talk to you about publishing my poems. They're just sitting around all over, taking up a lot of data here. So anyway, thank you, Sean. Very inspirational. Let's go to John. John, I would like you to tell us a little more about yourself and officially welcome. You're on speaker view right now. Go.
Well, thank you, Red. As you know, I really started my career in science, veterinary medicine, and then into public health, and did that for about 20, 25 years, and then went into medical writing. But really, I'm circling back now to my love of books and my love of reading and writing. I always loved my English classes, and they were electives that I just wanted to take. It was a lot of fun for me. I've also, on the creative side, for about 15 years, I don't do it anymore. I was community theater. I played Don Quixote and Elwood Dowd and a whole bunch of people, and had a lot of fun doing that.
Wow.
And I also sing opera,
Oh,
as well as show tunes and other things like that. I had about 10 or 15 years of voice training.
Do you still have an opera voice?
I do. I haven't warmed it up in a while, but
Okay, then I won't impose on you, but I was going to ask you to just a line or two from what did you say?
okay. Let me see if I can come up with something.
Okay, all right.
Votre toast, je peux vous le rendre, Seigneur, car avec les dosards.
I am beyond. That was, come on, Peter. Let's
Very
get
good.
the
Yes.
applause going. That was
Very good.
John. You have a gorgeous voice, just
Thank you.
beautiful. Thank you. And Sean's giving us the whatever that was. Thank you very much. What was your favorite role, John?
I played Jonathan, the psychopathic brother in Arsenic and Old Lace twice. That was a lot of fun. I played gangster number 1 in Kiss Me Kate. That was a lot of fun. I have a lot of them. It's Elwood Dowd was a lot of fun.
What play was Elwood Dowd from?
Harvey.
Okay, I have to give you a applause track here. There, you earned that. You really earned that. Okay, that's the crowd cheering for that. You earned that, John. Okay, I hope you feel appreciated. Thank you. Absolutely fascinating. Do you still sing in the shower or in the kitchen or somewhere?
Oh, I sing. My wife will tell you I sing all the time. I don't sing much in theater, although I did kind of a showpiece for a local thing about a year ago, and I do stuff like that once in a while.
Very nice. Well, thank you for sharing your beautiful voice with us. Very much appreciated. I'm honored. Peter, you are next. Yes. What did I miss in the 16 lines of your intro? Come on, tell us more. I'm putting you on speaker view.
You covered quite a bit. I really appreciate that. Let's see, what else do I do? Kind of like John, the English classes are always my favorite. And like you said, I listened to The Whisper of Law, which maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. And so I've done that for now it's going on 30 years. but I've always been drawn to writing. I've always loved my creative writing courses, even in the practice of law. That was always my favorite part, was the research and the writing. And my first job out of law school, I was clerking for a judge in this small town in Eastern Kentucky, hollers of Eastern Kentucky. And I was thinking, wow, this is not my kind of place. However, in the back of my head, I was like, this might make a good setting for a novel sometime. So transition to my first novel,
The Thing About My Uncle.
Thing About My Uncle. It's a young adult thriller that takes place in the hollers of Eastern Kentucky. It follows this young boy, Rhett, who gets kicked out of school. His mom's a single mother. She's frazzled. She doesn't know what to do. So she sends him to live with his uncle in Eastern Kentucky. They hardly know each other. Through the course of their relationship, they find out that their past lives are intertwined in a way that neither of them knew about, and their past lives are coming back to get them. So I really had a lot of fun writing this. And let me just say, this cover is awesome. I love it. This was the first edition. Unfortunately, my publisher then went out of business a few months ago. So the rights reverted to me. I just didn't get the cover. So I put a new cover on it. So if you look on Amazon, you'll see this cover, same book, different cover. I still have some of these on my website if you want to buy. I bought up the last couple of boxes of stock because I love this cover so much. I want to make a poster out of it. But
It's pretty.
yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Very, very interesting. So we have an opera singer, we have a lawyer, and Sean, what's your claim to fame another profession you want to talk about interesting. The backgrounds of writers intrigue me so much. Sean, anything unusual in your background that you really want to say that you came from that to it inspires your writing?
I've got all sorts of very strange things in my background. But I suppose the 10 years in Istanbul that you did a line off in the poem. But I was there for 10 years until 2014, and I was recording music out there because I was in the middle of that city. And then when I got back here in 2014, the culture wars as we know them now started to kick off, and it's almost like they imported them from there. So I took that to writing and to art, and away from music. I feed all the genres, all the disciplines. I actually do as one thing. Honestly, I do. People don't believe it when I say it, but the painting and the writing and the music are all the same thing. That sounds really stupid, but
no, it's not. It's not. It's all part of. It's part of the creative, the sphere of creativity. Listen, I paint. I write, I do poems, I've created romantic comedy plays. I had my own TV show in New York for years. I had 4 series. I have 5 live streaming series now. I produce, I host, I create webinars I think there's the creativity. I think it's a spirit. What do you all think? It's something in you that it doesn't have to be single thread, single genre, single output. Look at the backgrounds of the 3 of you. Listen, you don't know this. I'm an early woman in tech. I was coding in COBOL on a Xerox Sigma 6 CP5 mainframe back in the day and carrying around boxes of 2,000 Hollerith 80-column cards that I keep punched. And I was a wonderful programmer. And then I graduated to an IBM 4341, and I did a language you probably never heard of called PL1, undoing spaghetti code in an educational system for the state of Oregon. And I've been all around marketing and you name it. But I think that we have it in us, Sean and John and Peter. I think there's that spirit of, I didn't say I want, I need to create something. I need to make something. Am I on track with that? You all agree with that?
Sure.
Yeah? John, you agree?
Well, I don't know. Would you like me to go into it?
No, because we had to move on with the show. We'll talk. But you're all creative in so many different ways, and I'm impressed. Let's leave it there. Okay. No, we're not going to have that discussion right now. Sean, you're up first. I've asked you each to send me a quote from a fictional TV or a movie character or a song lyric, and I'm going to read a little bit about the quote, and I'd like you to relate it to your own creativity. So, Sean Parker, your quote comes from Lester Burnham, played by Kevin Spacey, the movie American Beauty, 1999 psychological black comedy film. Academics have described it as satirizing how beauty and personal satisfaction are perceived by the middle class. It won 5 Oscars. Best Director, Best Actor, Best Original Screenplay, Best Cinematography, and Best Picture. Quite a something. That was 1999. The quote is, "Got a minute? For you, Brad, I've got 5." Okay, and that was said by Lester Burnham. Sean, 3 minutes. What does this mean to your creativity? Talk to me.
3 minutes.
Yep.
Wow. Well, yeah, I love the way you delivered the line there. You sounded exactly like Kevin. That was fantastic. In a
Okay.
way. Yeah, what is it about that line that touches me? I am very attracted to people on the edge of a nervous breakdown in culture, in films and in music. That edge of things, where it's in literature and great art, when people are on that place, they tend to create fascinating things. Lester Burnham in that, John Cleese in For Fawlty Towers, the Wisnell and I, the film. He's a young man on the edge of a nervous breakdown, and there's always that teetering part where you never know what's quite going to happen to them. Lots of brilliant American literature seems to teeter on that, and that's the stuff that I like anyway. Because the straight, comfortable story, uh, the typical romance, and this is what a guy or a girl should be, tend to be a bit more, and the Bridget Jones, even that kind of era, which is when American Beauty came from. She was not on a nervous breakdown, but just trying to find out which is. So those people that are in that tense dividing line have fascination. You put all Kevin Spacey's acting skills, and he's the best I can think of alive, next to Anthony Hopkins and Jack Nicholson. Then it's Kevin, maybe at the top of that, and he just can inhabit characters so incredibly well. And then later, he had a lot of this stuff reflected in his personal life, of course, and I find that fascinating too. And the media has turned people's real lives, actors' real lives, into their drama, and I find, yeah, it's all very traumatic and weird for everybody, but it's also creatively fascinating for me. So that's why I'm mad into that quote.
Very interesting explanation. I appreciate that. Thank you. I saw bits and pieces of that movie, and it was fascinating. Certainly psychological. We'll leave that there. Intriguing. John, I'm going to your quote. You have picked a quote from Mr. Bernstein, played by Everett Sloane. The movie. Oh my goodness gracious! 1941 drama film Citizen Kane. Directed and produced by and starring the one and only Orson Welles, co-written by him and Herman J. Mankiewicz. It was Welles' first feature film, frequently cited as the greatest film ever made. Very, very interesting. After Broadway's success of his Mercury Theater and the controversial 1938 radio broadcast, The War of the World, on the air, that was the Mercury Theater, he was courted by Hollywood and he signed a contract with RKO Pictures in 1939. He was given full creative freedom, use his own cast and crew, final cut privilege. Very, very interesting. Here's the line Mr. Bernstein says: "There's no secret to making a lot of money if all you want to do is make a lot of money." Oh, John, that's okay. A little tautology there, a little circular reasoning. Go ahead, John. Tell me, what did you pick this and what does it have to do with your creativity? Go.
Well, I've always loved that movie, and I've always loved that line because I spent a lot of time in corporate America, or at least a goodly amount of time, 10, 12 years. And there were so many people. And this is why when I hear people say they got so much money, why could they have so much money? Because they work their butts off. They're working constantly. That's all they do. And I said to myself when I was going through that, I mean, I'd like to do other things. At the time, it was acting and singing and later writing. And it's easy to make a lot of money if that's all you want to do. But I wanted to do other things. So for me, that particular quote always meant a lot because, it doesn't take a genius to make a lot of money. You just got to bust your butt and spend all your time doing it. And typically those people suffer family life, other things from just spending all their time in business.
So, how does that release you if you don't subscribe to that, John? How does that release you to be a creative person who gets to enjoy life and your family? Is that the point?
Yeah, I mean, I took another road after a few years. I remember when I left a corporate job to start doing contract writing and things like that. My boss said to me, "Oh, I thought you'd be with us for 15, 20 years." And I said, I maybe got about 30, 40 years left to live. Why do I want to spend 15 of them here?
There you go. I think we can understand. I was laid off from a wonderful corporate job after 9 years because I was doing global thought leadership radio and I had 48 series. I had millions of listeners around the world, but I wasn't bringing in sales leads. They didn't like the concept of thought leadership. And they said, but where? I said, listen, this is very low budget, low cost. I'm doing it. Nobody had ever done it before. And then, when they laid me off, John, I had all the time to think about what I wanted to do. So I took the main show I started 9 years before, turned it into my own show, kept the listeners, kept the guests, kept the philosophy of the whole thing, and added more and more shows. And now I can do my days are my own. I have all the freedom in the world to do, and I love it. I like what you said. Thank you very much. Of course, I tell people mama's got to pay her bills, so there are a couple of paid gigs I have
Right.
along the way, of course, that take up a lot of time. But still, I run the schedule now. I understand. Peter is nodding. Yes,
Yeah, no, I
Peter,
get it. Yeah.
I know. And Peter, I'm going to your quote. Thank you, John. That was interesting. Peter picked a quote, a very popular quote. Rocky Balboa, 2006 sports drama film written, starring, directed by Sly Stallone, of course. And this is the sequel to 1990's Rocky V. This is the sixth installment in the series that launched with 1976's Oscar-winning Rocky. In this series, this sequence, aging widower Rocky is retired. He's living in Philadelphia. God bless him. He's the owner and operator of an Italian restaurant named after Adrian, his late wife. Here is the line. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep getting forward. That's how winning is done. I don't do a good Stallone accent, so I'm sorry, Peter. I
That's
really
good.
don't try. But if you want to do it, that's fine with me. So
Yeah.
anyway, go ahead, Peter. Tell us how you picked this and what does this have to do with your own creativity? Go.
Yeah, because I feel, I don't know if Sean and John feel the same way, but as a creative, I feel like you have to be resilient. You have to have a really tough skin because I do feel like you get punched a lot. I remember when I first started this kind of resurgence in my writing, you got a lot of rejection letters, and it's just like, dang, maybe, maybe, and they weren't just like coming from a legal background, you kind of know what the rules are, right? The legal precedent, there's statutes, there's laws, you follow along there, and if you go awry of either of those, okay, so you lose the case that way. But these were more just like rejections that were like, this is really good, but it's not for us. I mean, I would get that a lot. It's not for us, but drove me crazy. And I remember when I first got it, I'm like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. But then, I kind of like equate it because I do a lot, I run a lot. I do a lot of sports and stuff. And it's the same thing. It's just like, it's a competition sort of. And, you have to, get yourself back up off the mat. And so as a creative, you put yourself out there, like, what you're writing is very personal and then to put it out into the world and have someone, reject it or some reviews or less than kind, which I try not to read. I look at the rating first and I'm like, okay, I could read this one, maybe not that one. But anyway, that's what it means for me. It's just like, do your creativity, whether it's painting, opera singing, writing, like we all do, and just kind of focus on that and not let the punches get to you too much.
Very well put. Very, very well put. When I started my TV show on cable in Long Island, I had one of my neighbors say she didn't like what I was wearing. She didn't like my lipstick. She didn't like this and that. And you know what? I quietly, before I gave her quietly the middle finger, which I didn't do in her presence, but I quietly said to myself, is she the one sitting in front of the camera, sitting in a studio, designing the show, inviting the guests, picking the music, doing the introductions, doing the research, and all she has to say is that she didn't like the outfit I wore? Okay, Adele, she passed away so many years later. Okay, Adele, you can just stay in your corner. You don't have to watch. There's at least 100 other channels. But yes, this is something that's intriguing to me, Sean, with your painting and with your writing, and John with your singing and your writing, and Peter, all of the careers you've all had. People do take punches because to be creative is to put yourself out there, right? It's to put yourself in the line of fire where people can say, I like it, I don't like it. And I stopped reading movie reviews a long time ago. I don't go out to movies, everything I stream now, but I figured after a while, the reviews were written by people whose job it was to review 50 to 100 movies a year, and I might watch 3, and they have a different vocabulary and this wasn't up to standard, and this actor didn't do well, and this director, and their point of view was skewed, and the production, and I'm saying to myself, I'm going to see it anyway. And I loved it. So there's a point where you have to, I think, filter out, Peter, not just get up, but filter out those critics, right? Because
Absolutely. Yeah.
they say consider the source. Isn't that true? Sean, have you had experience with critics?
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose that a critic, it's another creative skill in itself. It's a thing that they're doing 100 times a year, as you say, and they need to make it as interesting each time. They're probably sick to back teeth of the films and themselves, and their lives. But it's like I get my critics too, but the stuff I make tends to be so weird in people's minds that they don't really know what to do with it. They just go, "Ooh," and they don't really have anything to say except that's good, or and they just they can't handle it in my immediate sphere. And outside of my sphere, there's some specialists who sort of get really sniffy about it and go, "Well, it's not a Picasso. That's how it's not supposed to be a Picasso." So you have that kind of people don't know what to do with my stuff, basically. Right? That's fine with
I
me.
like that. I like, you know what? I was going to read one of your creativity statements next. I will, but I like what you just said. That's a whole new take. I hadn't heard anybody say it quite that way. When you're in a niche, when you're a niche, you're not somebody's niece, you're a niche, an area, a genre that is unusual only to you. What can people say? They don't know. They don't have the vocabulary or the history or the background to address a criticism. They don't know what they're looking at. So just say, "Bravo, Sean, that was interesting," and move on, right? That's
That's right. Yeah.
just go on and skip the middle finger all the way along. I'm just going to read one of your statements here. This is interesting. You say Sean says he wrote his first song in 1989 at the age of 14. Okay, what was the song? Can you tell us just a little bit? What was it and what inspired you? And did you produce it? Did you sing it? Did you play it? What'd you do with it?
I was thinking about this just yesterday. It was called Sexual Innuendo. Do you want to hear the first verse?
Can you say it on my show? Anything too risque?
I don't know. I can't. Not really. You're a sexual innuendo. You get me so loose. You get my body running till I run out of juice. And I think it was coming from a combination of Madonna and the Manic Street Preachers, who's a punk band we have here. I stuck that together with my guitarist, and we made this thing. And that's the first verse is very sticky in my head, so it can't be that bad, can it?
I like it.
Good stuff.
Liked it. I liked it. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was interesting. I usually go around the table and ask people to comment on each other's statement. So I'll say, I'm just going to pose this to John and Peter. Is there anything you did that you would consider creative at the ripe old age of 14 or 12 or 16 that was part of your, shall we say, burgeoning creativity? Peter or John, anything you can remember?
Yeah, for me, and you mentioned that in the intro for me, but yeah, I kept the journal for I mean, going back, I was like a kid, and I would always keep a journal. I always felt like I had to write, and I'm sort of like I consider myself sort of a functioning introvert, where I could like go out and do stuff. It's not my favorite part, but I remember in school I would be terrified to have to up in front of the class and do an oral presentation. However, if we ever, in my writing classes, whenever we wrote something and had to go up in front of the class and read it, I had no problems at all. I mean, I loved doing that. I just loved reading my writing. I felt comfortable doing it and reading it and writing it. So yeah, even, my earliest memories have always been about, just writing anything.
Interesting. John, anything early memories?
Um, One of the biggest memories I have is I've always been loved reading fiction and history. I love military history. And my parents really pushed that. They thought reading was the way to go. And I remember many times we lived in a 6 kids in a house in Detroit in the summer without AC. And I would go to the library and I would sit down in air conditioned comfort for like 3 hours and read novels. And I also always loved the writing, enjoyed my own writing. I remember cleaning out my parents' basement when my mom was moving to a retirement community, and found a box of stuff that included writing that I had done for an English class, like when I was 16. And I thought it was pretty good. Now this was 20 years later. And so I said, when it got a chance to do that, I said, maybe I can do this.
Maybe I could. Isn't that interesting? Sean, that one statement I read, that one little tiny sentence from you sparked a conversation around the table. That's how the show works. That's why I ask everybody for these little statements about your own creativity. There are threads of common things that link us. We've never met, the four of us, but there are things that in our lives under the theme of creativity. And that's why I named this episode The Nature of creativity. I have to come up with a new title every week, and I do 50 shows a year, so do the math. This has been on forever, so I'm running out of friggin' words here. Okay, John, thank you, Sean. I'm going to one of your statements here, John. This is very interesting. John says, I never chase after an audience or a trend. Trends usually change before you publish. I write what I find interesting and hope that an audience is out there. Fascinating. Okay, John, just give us a little more, unpack that for us, and then we'll see what Sean and Peter have to say. John?
Well, I think you have to write specifically for what you like. For one thing, with all the rejection and stuff out there, and the fact that writing a novel, say 90,000 words, is a slog over months. If you didn't like the topic, what you were writing, you'd never be able to do it. So number one, you have to do it just from logistics. Secondly, if you're passionate about it and you write, there's somebody out there who wants to read it. I've heard quotes from people, like even in television, like Phil Rosenthal from Everybody Love Raymond. He goes, you write specifically. He goes, I don't try to figure out what an old lady in Minnesota thinks is funny. I write what me and my friends think are funny. And I think that's what you have to do. Any writer, they have to write what they enjoy and write for themselves and hope that there's an audience for it. And as far as trends go, that's the truth. By the time you get around to the 2 or 2.5 years it takes you to go from first draft to published book, whatever trend you were chasing has changed anyway. So don't even bother.
Absolutely. And I'm going to add something from your statement 3 to spice this up a little bit. You say, I always try to write characters that are real to me. So I let them do and say things that fit them, even if this is sometimes distasteful. Just add a little bit more about that, John, and then we'll see what your colleagues on the panel have to say.
One of my favorite authors influences is Stephen King. And, he talks about, like, in his dark half, you have to let the dark half of yourself come to the surface if you want your writing to be real and sound real and not constrained. And so there's aspects of yourself and your imagination which you don't let everybody see because maybe they're a little distasteful, maybe they're a little lustful, or maybe they're murderous. And you've got to let that out for your character. If your character's a villain that should have that, then you've got to let that show. You can't worry about, your grandma's going to be reading this. You write it as if no one's going to read it.
Interesting. Peter, comments, and then I'll go to Sean. Hey, go ahead.
No, I completely agree with John. I always try to write what I know first because it's easier that way. I don't have to do any research. But also it's the kind of stuff like John was saying, it's kind of stuff that I want to read. And it's interesting when you speak about trends, because when I was shopping around my second novel, a lot of the agents, a lot of the publishers were looking for specifically, I think it's called romantasy. It's like a romantic fantasy, and I have no idea what that is. There's no way I could write that. But
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but the publisher actually who accepted the second novel said that one of the reasons why they accepted it was because it was different. It wasn't. I guess they've been seeing a lot of this romantasy, so they kind of picked up on that, and so yeah, it kind of worked out well that way. But yeah, like John was saying, just kind of write what write and don't follow the trends, because the trends aren't. I don't know how long romantasy will be around, but I don't want to have to learn to write it. So
we don't even know how to spell it yet. Sean, you've already talked about being in your own lane, about doing art that nobody understood or knew anything about. You want to add anything to this, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly what John was just saying about the full human, the bad and the good and everything else. Nick Cave was a massive hero of mine, the singer-songwriter, is very, very stridently about doing the full human. He's a good bloke. He's a guy with a Christian a vicar father, and he has a constant religious conversation going on inside himself. He's as an atheist or whatever he is, and just constantly has that conversation about good and bad. And for a bit of cultural politics, right, the kind of the woke, the authoritarian progressivism that we have over here. I'm not talking about America. I'm talking about Britain. We've got a lot of pressure to be good all the time, in art too. And if your art's not in the good of social progress, then it's valueless. and I argue with these people a lot, and they call me basically immoral or terrible or something. And I'm like, no, I want to hear the full person that John's talking about, the good and the bad. And it doesn't mean he's bad. It means he can write bad. And if you can't write bad, then you're not a writer, etc. So, that's my two penneth worth.
Thank you. Very, very interesting. I'm going to tell you all a quick story. I decided about 8 years ago I wanted to write a romantic comedy play, and I had no idea how to do it, but I knew it was there. I knew it was in me, but I didn't know what to do with it. So when I was working a full-time job, marketing or computer technology or something like that, I went online at 1 o'clock in the morning one night when I couldn't sleep, and I said, how do I write a play? And I found a downloadable format in a Word document that told me this is the font, this is the leading, this is how you describe the scene, this is how you briefly define the characters, this is curtain up, this is curtain down, and what do you put in it? How do you space out the dialogue? So I downloaded it, I started writing. In 3 nights, writing from 1 to 4 in the morning, I had my play. And I said, what the hell am I going to do with it? Well, I was already producing and hosting a TV show on cable called Something to Talk About. And I knew a bunch of community actors from Long Island who had become friends of mine or friends of friends. And I contacted them and I said, how would you like to be in this original play? And they said, listen, we're so busy doing so many well-known plays in community theater. We don't have a lot of time. We don't have time to memorize. I said, teleprompter. I'll put all of the lines in a scroll on the teleprompter. The audience won't see it, the camera won't see it, but you'll see it. You don't have to memorize anything, just understand. I coached them. I did everything I had to. I changed some of the lines to fit the personality of the actors, and we produced it in my TV studio. Then I edited it down to 26 minutes with a friend. My friend George just passed away last week, but he was my director and my editor. My mom, who was 98 at the time, wrote a little piano piece for the opening of the first one. She was a piano player, and we put it together and put it on the air. But what I want to tell you is years later, I moved to North Carolina, and I decided to start something called a cold reading salon. Sean and Peter and John, I put out in the community bulletin, I want people who will come and want to read scripts, cold read, and act them out. No practice, no rehearsal. 5 minutes. Sean, you get 3, they got 5, okay? 10 minutes, 10 minutes I gave them. So I printed out some Roald Dahl scripts, the writer, and that were available publicly. There was no copyright on these. I didn't steal anything. And my printing bill was amazing that month. And I had stacks and I put them on a table. 25 people showed up. 25 people signed up. I guess they were bored and they were looking for something to do. And I said, go to the table and pick something. On the top line of each front page, I printed them, I stapled them. It would say monologue, dialogue, scene, how many people. I didn't care. They picked. I said, go sit down. You got 10 minutes to read your script, and then somebody raise their hand and you'll start. Well, it was so popular. Nobody wanted to go home at 9 o'clock when it was over. They loved it. And they had the chutzpah, if you will. But my point is, I put a scene from one of my plays, Sean, on the table. I printed it and put it, and I forgot I put it there. And all of a sudden, somebody's up and they're reading the scene, and I'm laughing hysterically. I said, that's really funny. Who's the author? It was me. It was my characters in my first play. And I thought, that was really good. That was really, really cool. So that was my experience I was part of the public at that point, right? I was the audience for my own writing, and I was hysterical. So I said, good job, kid. Good job. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I'm going to go to Peter now. I have 2 lines from your creativity. We got time here that I want to read, and these are interesting. Different take from what John and Sean have been talking about. Peter says, mornings are the best time for me to create. The house is quiet before the phone rings and emails start coming through. Number 1. Number 2, if I'm stuck on something, I really hate the term writer's block. Okay, I didn't say it. We just, writer's block. I'll do something physical, like go to the gym or ride my bike. It frees up my mind to create again. And I can't see Sean because my notes are in front of him, but John is nodding. So Peter, why don't you unpack this for us, and then we'll see what the other 2 have to say. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, so I write when I feel like writing, and I don't press myself. I kind of have that luxury, I guess, because this is like my thing that it brings me pleasure, that I enjoy doing. So I'm not going to force myself. But yeah, when I wake up, usually like something must have gone on overnight, and I'll wake up with like something to write about, like a great idea or great to me. I don't know, it might turn out to be not so great, but an idea for a story, like this my novel. It's kind of came to me like one morning, and I just couldn't wait to wake up and work on it and write on it. And then I can't write continuously, and there are different chapters, different pieces that kind of were more difficult to write. So I just put it aside. And like you said, when I do something physical, my mind kind of like, relaxes, I guess. And then even like when I'm on a long run or something, I'll get an idea and I'll come home and I'll write it down, and, I'll be sweating on the paper, and the ink will be running, but it's something that just came to me right then. But yeah, I guess my point is, I don't force it. And if I feel it, I could write, 3 hours, but I could also not write for 2 or 3 days if I'm not feeling it. So I don't want to force myself, I guess.
Interesting, interesting. I feel the need for speed from Top Gun is not your philosophy there. Sean or John, anything you want to say about the time of day when you write, the best time to
Yeah,
write? Go ahead.
I usually write in the morning. Uh,
Mhm.
I word count can vary. I try for at least 500, but 700 or 800 or 1,000 is not unusual. I agree that when you hit a block, and it's usually for me, it's because I write mostly thrillers, not all,
Mhm.
but it's I don't know where the story is going to go next. I have kind of three ways to handle that. One, as you say, go do something physical, go walk the dog, something like that, free your mind up. Two, write something else, work on a short story,
Mhm.
or edit a draft that you have sitting around somewhere. Or third, just put something down. And sometimes, at least a lot of times, that will jog. You start writing something and the
Mm.
scene starts to develop. So as far as writer's block go, I've heard a good term that I always liked. Somebody said, I don't believe in writer's block because there's no such thing as plumber's block. Plumber doesn't feel like plumbing. He's still got to go do work on people's pipes. And so in that respect, you can say, you know, bull ahead. It may not be great, and you may go back and have to edit the heck out of it. But, you know, get something down there. Read a lot and write a lot. That's the writer's mantra.
I like that. Sean, you're nodding a lot. Talk to me. What do you think?
Yeah, when it comes to the time of day for producing things, or the time or the energies that one uses, like in the morning, I know that Peter kind of says the emails start to come in. I find it very hard to ignore them. So I'm a kind of a one man band. So I tend to structure it all myself without a family life. Though I'm single, so I have it all to do for myself. I got jobs I do outside. So I structure the day like that. I do the emails in the morning. I have some lunch, and in the afternoon I'll go and do some of my outside jobs that I have to do to live. And then in the evening it'll be painting. And then I find the times that I do write, and I don't think I write as much as you guys basically in general. I get it out with paint with the writing by inspiration. I have that luxury because I don't earn my money from it. So it's like I when a poem comes or a piece comes, sculpt it away, and as John says, get something down, edit it later, edit something else, and that might jog something else. And that's the joy of creativity, actually. And when it comes to painting, at a certain point of doing it, it starts to talk to you. I don't know if you've
Yep.
had this with other people, but it's like, it's like, oh God, this isn't going anywhere, this isn't going anywhere. And then bang, it suddenly has a life and it starts to direct what you're doing. That's joyful. It's a joyful moment, that is.
It is joyful. It's exciting, it's joyful, and it has its own way of fulfilling. I'm going to say something really corny. It fulfills our soul, I think, when we create something that we like, right? When
I
we like it, when it makes us happy. It's like, I didn't know Sean, I paint a lot. I have a little studio I created here, and I've done about 300 paintings so far. I haven't painted in a little while. It was too hot this summer, but when it gets cool, I put a little heater out there, and I like to paint. But sometimes I'll take an old painting. I do anywhere from 16 to 20 little canvases to bigger ones, much bigger ones. And I'll say, you know what? That one doesn't really do anything for me. It's okay, but it was kind of blah. What was I thinking? And I'll paint over it. And sometimes I'll just wash it with a wash of red or blue or something, and things come out from the original painting through the overlay color wash. And I'll say, what? I did that. And that's a very, very interesting thought. Peter, did you want to add something to all of that? did you already? We're going around so many times. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I completely agree with that. No, and I like what John said. Like, it just gets
Yeah.
something on the paper or on the
Yeah.
computer screen, because it's seeing that little cursor or whatever just blinking on a blank page is very intimidating. So just like write something.
Absolutely. I signed up for a lot of writing not courses, but people who were selling their writing, teaching services and mentoring and all of that. And I get their newsletters. I've taken a couple of free webinars, but there was an interesting woman who did one recently, and she said she writes while she's walking around doing something else, and she just hits the recorder on her phone and just keeps talking. Well, she apparently one day just talked through an entire chapter with John 500 words, and she was able to transcribe it into her book. What I was intrigued with, she was selling her services on how to set up your phone and how to set up the audio. So she wasn't giving anything away. It was a come on for her course. That was fine. Good for her. Okay, I want to read you all a couple of quotes. We've got about 5 minutes left. So this is a quote from Kurt Vonnegut. You've all heard of Kurt Vonnegut? Yes, 19.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh.
1922 to 2007, he lived for 84 years. American humorist, author of satirical and darkly humorous novels. He wrote 14 novels, 3 short story collections, 5 plays, 5 nonfiction in 50 years, and collections upon collections are still being published after his death. And here's something he said. This is interesting. It's called the Words of Wisdom. Go into the arts. I'm not kidding. The arts are not a way to make a living. They're a very human way of making life more bearable. Practicing an art, no matter how well or how badly, is a way to make your soul grow, for heaven's sake. Sing in the shower, dance to the radio, tell stories, write a poem to a friend, even a lousy poem. Do it as well as you possibly can. You will get an enormous reward. You will have created something. Now tell me, isn't that a wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful? What do you think? Isn't that beautiful? I collect these things and put them in my notes. We have 3 minutes left. I'm going to read you one of my acrostics that I wrote last year in July for one of my Wednesday poetry groups. And the prompt was write a poem about night shift. And I like to do acrostics. So the first line is N and the second one is I and GHTSHIFT. But I'm not going to show it to you. I'm going to read it and I'll try to lean in when I get. And I think I'll dedicate this to the 3 of you. I think you'll enjoy it. So here we go. It's called Night Shift. Never quite really at rest. It's the life of a creative, going, gripping, gyrating, growling, groaning, growing, highs and lows, flowing on a mental Mobius strip. The days are the nights are the days again, shifting off and on, into and out of gear, hoping for unique brilliance even once. It's a calling, command, curse, roller coaster, finding eureka, euphoria amid frustration and fears. Thus is the life of the creative. What'd you think?
Wow.
You like
Dramatic.
Very good.
Dramatic.
You like that? That's one of my 700 that I've written. It just came, the energy just flowed. I like acrostics because I can do anything I want with them. With those, I put the bold letters down and then I just put in a mock-up of anything, just another letter so I can keep on writing. Sometimes they're one word per line, but I find them I like also, I do limericks where I break the 4th line. The 4th line is a run-on sentence with no punctuation, and it ends up with the rhyme from the first 2 lines. So it's AABBA. I have a whole series called The Saga of Timmy and Sweet Susie, and I've done a whole thing. Anyway, maybe I'll send those to you. Okay, I'm going to close out now because we're just about done. I want to thank so much the 3 of you. Don't go away. We'll talk afterwards if you can stay. In 2014, I closed the show with the top 10 tips for women. Even though I'm the only woman here, I want to read the first line. I saved the notes from 2014, Peter. So the first line was, aspire to be Barbie, the biatch has everything. Okay, there you go. And that was 10 years before the movie was made. Now, here's the final closing. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Kiss slowly. Yes. Love truly. Yes. Laugh uncontrollably. Everybody laugh with me. 1, 2, 3. Don't hurt yourself. And never regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. When I was teaching disco to 200 people in a high school gymnasium and I said to them, build me a stage, they had me dancing in high heels on a Formica tabletop and never mind, I didn't fall, but boy, was everybody watching. My legs were gorgeous. Sing like nobody's listening and love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Let your heart grow back. Renew, rejuvenate, learn to love again. Money talks, chocolate sings, And that's the best I can do, John. And last but not least, I stole this line from somebody years ago, and I'm going to play the outro. Thank you for turning me on. Let me see if I can find the closing music here. Here we go. Click.
On Read My Lips Radio,
listen to
producer
this.
and host, aka Radio Red, invites you to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversations with smart, savvy, creative people as she discovers what makes them tick, where they find their inspiration, when creativity first became their passion, and how their creative process can inspire the rest of us to think out of the box. Enjoy, aka Radio Red's always lively, cool conversations with creatives. Oh, how those lips can talk.
Thank you to the voice of Ryan Treasure. Stop. You can say it again later on. Okay, I'm Radio Red. Sean Parker, pleasure. Don't go away. John Bukowski, don't go away. Peter J. Stavros. And wave goodbye to our friends who were, or maybe not, on